In the kingdom of Bozde, the air buzzed with excitement. Prince Olumide, the beloved heir to the throne, was ready to choose a bride. For weeks, whispers of the event had spread through the villages, filling markets, fields, and homes with anticipation. Every maiden, no matter her station, dreamed of standing before the prince, imagining what it would mean to win his heart. But this was no ordinary prince. Known for his wisdom and compassion, Olumide had grown up among his people, often disguising himself to walk among them. He knew the value of character over appearances, and this decision was one he would not take lightly. A queen must embody more than beauty, he had told the elders of his court. She must have a heart that mirrors the strength and grace of our people. To prepare for the day, the royal council had worked tirelessly. The gathering under the great baobab tree, a centuries-old tradition, would serve as the stage for this monumental choice. Stories from long ago spoke of how this tree, with its sprawling branches and deep roots, symbolized unity and resilience. Its location was central, accessible to all, and the site had been prepared with care. Draped with colorful fabrics and adorned with flowers from every corner of the kingdom, the baobab tree stood as a beacon of hope for the young maidens. Families scrambled to ensure their daughters had the finest dresses, the brightest beads, and the most intricate hairstyles. Tailors worked late into the night, and marketplaces bustled with mothers haggling over the best fabrics and ornaments. The anticipation in the air was electric, and the excitement was matched only by the tension in the hearts of the maidens. To ensure fairness, royal messengers announced that every maiden must be approved by her family to attend the gathering beneath the great baobab tree. Only registered maidens received a special bracelet, a golden band engraved with the royal crest, a token of eligibility. Among those in the kingdom was Madame Simasola, an influential woman known for her sharp tongue and commanding presence. She had two daughters, her biological child, Teo, and her stepdaughter, Abini. Teo was pampered and vain, her confidence matched only by her determination to outshine others. She was the pride of her mother, who spared no effort in preparing her for a life of privilege. Abini, on the other hand, was treated as little more than a servant. Quiet and dutiful, she toiled day and night, enduring her stepmother's scorn and her stepsister's indifference. When the royal bracelets were distributed, Madame Simasola registered only Teo. Abini, she scoffed, "You're not fit to stand among the maidens vying for the prince's hand." The long-awaited day finally arrived. Maidens adorned in dazzling attire flocked to the baobab tree, eager to catch the prince's attention. At Madame Simasola's house, Teo spent hours before a mirror, layering herself with jewelry and adjusting her dress. She was determined to be the most radiant maiden at the gathering. But in her haste to leave, she forgot the one item that mattered most, the royal bracelet. Teo didn't realize her mistake until she arrived at the gathering. As she looked around at the other maidens, the sight of their golden bracelets sent a chill through her. She rummaged through her belongings frantically, but the bracelet was nowhere to be found. Panic set in. Back at the house, Abini was scrubbing floors, her hands raw from work. Madame Simasola had deliberately assigned her an endless list of chores to keep her busy while the others gathered at the baobab tree. As Abini prepared to move to the next task, something shiny caught her eye, Teo's bracelet, left carelessly on the edge of a table. She picked it up and hurried to Madame Simasola, holding it out. "Mother," Teo forgot her bracelet. Madame Simasola frowned, her frustration evident. "Why didn't you make sure she was ready before she left? Are you so heartless that you didn't notice she'd forgotten the most important thing?" Abini lowered her gaze, her heart sinking at the undeserved blame. Madame Simasola thrust the bracelet into her hands. Take this to her immediately, and don't waste time. Use the shortcut, Theo needs this now. Meanwhile, at the baobab tree, Theo, desperate to retrieve her bracelet, left the gathering and rushed back home along the main road. At the same time, Abini, following her stepmother's instructions, took the shortcut toward the baobab tree, clutching the bracelet. Unaware of each other's movements, their paths diverged, with fate steering them toward very different outcomes. When Abini arrived at the baobab tree, the maidens were already forming an orderly line. Clutching the bracelet, she scanned the crowd for Theo, her brow furrowed with concern. But before she could spot her sister, a hush fell over the gathering. Prince Olumide had arrived. The prince, resplendent in his royal robes, dismounted his steed and began walking among the maidens, his sharp eyes observing each one. When his gaze landed on Abini, he paused. Her simple beauty, unadorned by excess, and the quiet humility in her demeanor drew him in like no other. "You," he said, stepping closer. "What is your name?" Abini froze, unsure of what to say. I am Abini," she stammered. "But I am not here to compete, Your Highness. I came only to deliver this bracelet to my sister." She held out the bracelet, her voice trembling. The prince smiled, a warmth spreading across his face. "You may not have come to compete, but it seems my heart has already chosen you." Abini shook her head, panic flashing in her eyes. "Your Highness, I don't belong here. My mother only registered my sister. This is her bracelet." "The heart knows no rules," the prince interrupted gently. "And it does not concern itself with lists or bracelets. It has made its choice." As cheers erupted from the crowd, Theo returned, breathless, her eyes widened in disbelief at the sight of Abini standing before the prince, the bracelet she'd left behind still in her hand. Theo tried to push through the crowd, but it was too late. The prince had already declared his choice. Madame Simasola, watching from the edges of the gathering, was speechless. Her plans for Theo had unraveled before her very eyes. The daughter she had dismissed as unworthy had won the prince's heart, not through schemes or jewels but through her quiet grace and sincerity. Thus, Abini became the bride of Prince Olumide, her kindness and humility shining as brightly as any crown. Her story became a legend in Bosde, a tale of destiny, selflessness, and the triumph of a pure heart over vanity and pride.